All right, Donald Trump threatened to send the National Guard into Chicago, and Mayor Brandon Johnson has already smacked back. Listen, a few key governors, mayors, and Congress members have sparked a pro-democracy movement that will carry us through the Trump administration. I can name a few. Governor Gavin Newsom, Governor J.B. Pritzker, Representative Jasmine Crockett, Representative Robert Garcia. All of these people have been fighting tooth and nail every single day to get the Epstein files released and to punch back against Republicans. Even beyond the Newsom of it all, today, Mayor Brandon Johnson of Chicago, where I live, I film, I record in the Chicago studio, Mayor Brandon Johnson signed an order directly aimed at resisting the planned immigration crackdown before the National Guard is deployed. I want to walk through all of this because Mayor Brandon Johnson and J.B. Pritzker have been doing an amazing job fighting back, but let's just lay the groundwork. Chicago is no stranger to pushing back against authoritarianism. Even during Trump's first campaign back in 2016, he had to cancel an event in Chicago because the citizens essentially ran him out. Now, at this time, I lived in Northwest Indiana. I grew up in Northwest Indiana, but you can see pictures from U.S. election 2016. Donald Trump's canceled Chicago rally. Hundreds of protesters and Trump supporters were packed into the 9,500-seat auditorium, and tempers flared until Trump ended up canceling the rally. Chicago essentially ran the Trump campaign out, and we're not going to let him deploy the National Guard into the city. Let's fast forward to modern day. This is in California. We see masked individuals who refuse to identify themselves or their agency, pulling up in unmarked vehicles and literally just kidnapping people. Genuinely just kidnapping people. Take a look at this.
What is this about?
What do you mean I am? Stop resisting. No. Relax. Let me go. Relax.
Dude, are you guys ICE? This guy's a citizen here, man.
We're trying to talk to him. Why are you running? I ain't running. I'm fucking at work. I saw you backing up and running. Relax.
They never identify themselves. They're always wearing masks, and they always have political motives. This guy has a blue flag on his chest. Over and over, we have seen a lack of due process. The common position that 85% of Americans have is that if somebody's here illegally and they've committed a slew of crimes, you can give them due process and deport them. But you can't just detain citizens with masks on, not identify yourself, not identify your agency, and continue to threaten people in an extrajudicial way. So again, that was in Los Angeles. But that brings me over to Chicago, because Trump is threatening to do the same thing. Take a listen to Governor J.B. Pritzker.
Over the weekend, we learned from the media that Donald Trump has been planning for quite a while now to deploy armed military personnel to the streets of Chicago. This is exactly the type of overreach that our country's founders warned against. And it's the reason that they established a federal system with a separation of powers built on checks and balances. What President Trump is doing is unprecedented and unwarranted. It is illegal. It is unconstitutional. It is un-American.
Very well said from Governor J.B. Pritzker. Governor Gavin Newsom is saying the same thing. Everybody's sounding the alarm that he is mobilizing the National Guard to normalize military use heading into the midterms so we can intimidate people. Here are the guardrails being put in place. And very, very quickly, we're going to be covering the Chicago situation relentlessly. If you live in Chicago or in Illinois, please comment below. Honestly, wherever you live, comment your city, comment your state. I'm curious. I want to know where everybody lives. But in Chicago in particular, we're going to be covering this. Maybe we'll do on-the-ground live streams. If you want to follow along, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share with your friends and family. This reads, Johnson signs order aimed at resisting planned immigration crackdown. Possible National Guard deployment. There's some clever guardrails that they're putting in place. Mayor Brandon Johnson, who hasn't been the most popular mayor, is taking new steps to fight President Trump's expected immigration crackdown. He signed the Protecting Chicago executive order on Saturday. Sources say hundreds of immigration enforcement agents could be coming to Chicago. The major problem here is they're not targeting the people that Trump promised to target, like criminals or people who have committed crimes. Republicans like to blur the lines and make it seem like every single immigrant is a criminal, but that's not true. 99% of people who come here, even illegally, which is just a civil violation, are coming here to live a better life. And when Stephen Miller sets this arbitrary quota of deporting 3,000 people, detaining and deporting 3,000 people per day, then the Trump administration no longer goes for criminals. They allocate resources towards people who are just trying to follow the law, because it's so much easier to grab somebody who is going to a courtroom than it is to actually detain a criminal. Leaders of all levels of government have been calling out the plans, including Governor J.B. Pritzker, who says there is nothing the state of Illinois can legally do to stop the immigration enforcement operations, but that's not stopping Brandon Johnson from taking action. And here's the interesting part of it. With the stroke of a pen, Johnson signed an executive order establishing the Protecting Chicago Initiative. It means that the Chicago Police Department will maintain a locally controlled law enforcement agency. The executive order also calls on federal law enforcement to follow municipal policies. These ones are important. So officers cannot wear masks to conceal their identities. That's been a big problem. It requires them to wear body cameras at all times and be activated when interacting with a member of the public. And it mandates the officers display the name of their federal agency, their last name, and their badge number. This helps preemptively curb a lot of the problems that we've seen both in D.C., in California, with federal agents, like I showed you in this video, wearing a mask and covering up their identity. This poll shows that 65% of Chicagoans, the vast majority, oppose sending in the National Guard to fight crime. It's the worst possible way to deal with crime. How about you actually invest in programs that are proven to fight crime, which a lot of times are just youth programs. 6 people were killed and 24 people were shot in Chicago last weekend, and J.B. Pritzker, the weak and pathetic governor of Illinois, just said he doesn't need help in preventing crime. Governor J.B. Pritzker then said, "Why don't you send proof of life first? Either way, Chicago doesn't want you here."
Well, they should understand that he has other aims other than fighting crime. That's the first thing they should understand. The second is it's an attack on the American people by the President of the United States. Now, he may disagree with a state that didn't vote for him, but should he be sending troops in? No.
You said he has other aims. What are the other aims?
The other aims are that he'd like to stop the elections in 2026 or, frankly, take control of those elections. He'll just claim that there's some problem with an election, and then he's got troops on the ground that can take control.
It's nice to see Governor J.B. Pritzker saying it very, very clearly. We did learn a few days ago that ICE was asking for access to Chicago area Navy base to assist operations. This normalization of the military being deployed in our cities is wild. That's why on Labor Day there's a march planned to protest Trump and a possible National Guard deployment. Mayor Brandon Johnson said Tuesday the Chicago Police Department has, number one, strategically placed a plan. We learned that plan today. And also that there could be protests on Labor Day throughout the city of Chicago. I'm going to leave it there, but if you appreciate the videos that we make on the Adam Mockler channel, drop a like, subscribe. I'll see you on the next one, and peace out.